Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Improve It podcast. Just kidding. Scratch that. You're like, what am I in for? Who is this? Welcome to the new improved Workday Playdate podcast with Improve It. Now, if you're an OG peep, you're probably like, what? What is happening? My friends, we got a brand new name, but our mission, oh, my friend, that is still the same. We are still here to inspire, energize, and bring joy to your leadership journey through play. So you're probably like, why the change? I thought the Improve It podcast was the name forever. Here's the deal, y'all. We realized that our community is growing, and we are so excited about that. And it's beyond just the workplace. It's beyond just the workshops that we do in our professional development company at Improve It. And we wanted to invite more of you to the table. So whether you're a leader at work, whether you're a leader at home, or you're a leader at both, this is your space to recharge and reconnect. So to all of my OG Improve It peeps, some of y'all have been here since 2020, since day one. Just so you know, you are forever our Improve It peeps, okay? We are just widening the circle to make this your go-to space for fun, insight, and actionable ideas to rock your workday. So I want you right now, wherever you are, if you're in the workday, I want you to grab your coffee, grab your tea, whatever fuels your inner rock star, and let's dive on in. Now, to my peeps, I know you. I know who you are. Years of podcasting have made us understand you so much better. You are a thought leader. You're a disruptor. You are a people leader who believes in challenging the status quo to create workplaces where humans thrive. You're like, okay, let me go outside of the box. Better yet, let me just burn the box down. But let's be honest. When we talk about the things that we do every single day at work, sometimes it is hard to bring empathy to the forefront of that conversation. It isn't easy. And that's what today's episode, the first episode of Workday Playdate with Improve It, is all about. So maybe you're listening and you have faced teams struggling with burnout in the past, or maybe your team is currently struggling with burnout, or maybe you have a team that had a really high conflict situation, or you're in conflict with a team member right now, or let's just say that you inherited a team and the engagement is so low, you're like pulling teeth to get them to come to work every day. Just know, I see you. Or perhaps you've wondered how to balance being a strong decision maker with also being approachable and human. I see you. So today's episode is here to offer you solutions, because today we are going beyond the book. My book, I See You, A Leader's Guide to Energizing Your Team Through Radical Empathy, has been in the world for a year now. We launched the book in February of 2024, and it has officially been 1 year. I wanted to start Workday Playdate, our new and improved brand identity, with just a recap of how this book has shaped me, has shaped you, because the stories that you have shared with me about how the book has shaped your journey have shaped mine too. Now, we were featured in the South Carolina Women in Tech Book Club. So women all over the state of South Carolina, which is the state I live in. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. They read this book to finding its way into the hands of thought leaders like Gabby Bernstein, which I've talked about that experience in an earlier episode. This book has traveled so far. It has inspired audience members at my keynotes to create more self-love and empathy within themselves. And it has sparked changes in teams and workplaces literally across the globe. So today I want to unpack it all. I want to talk about empathy. I want you to find yourself in these stories. I want you to listen to them, and I want you to try to experience more empathy in your day to day. Because I promise you, if we could evoke empathy and make it a common word in the workplace, every play date that we have, every episode that we have would be much different, because it is such a word that drives everything home. It is a place that, it's not a place. Empathy is a feeling. Empathy allows us to have places that feel good. I feel so strongly about this word. I'm dedicating an entire episode about it because I want you to understand what it means, why it matters, and how you can implement it into your life moving forward. So why the book, why I wrote the book, and why it matters so much, first and foremost, I just want to get into this. The book I See You is all about embracing radical empathy as a transformative leadership tool. I have research to back this up. Harvard Business Review shows that empathetic leaders are more effective in building trust, are more effective in improving employee satisfaction, and driving innovation in the workplace. This is from the Harvard Business Review in 2021. We know this. I want you to think right now, close your eyes, and think about a transformative leader that you've had in your life. Think about somebody who, when they come to your mind, it brings a smile. It makes your nervous system feel at peace. You feel their energy, and that energy is kindness, it's compassion. They see you for the human being, not the human doing. You can open your eyes. I hope you weren't driving, my friend. In this play date, I'm talking to you about that leader, how you can embody that leader, how you can be the leader that you want to be led by. I talk about this leader in the book, Jen D'Angelo. She is the best leader I've ever had in my entire life. And when I think about Jen, I automatically relax my nervous system. I sigh, I smile. What if your team members, your family could feel that way about you? What if you could evoke a feeling of safety, of home to the people around you? You know, I'm constantly telling my son, he's 5.5, you are safe and loved. You are safe and loved. And if he feels anything around me, it's that. I hope he feels safe and I hope he feels loved. And that's what true empathy does. It brings about this feeling of psychological safety, of feeling safe, of feeling loved. This book is fueled with empathetic stories. It's fueled with an undertone of bringing more empathy to yourself so you can give more empathy to others, so you can be the selfless leader that you want to be led by, so you can attract and retain the culture, the people, the talent, the organizations, the communities of your dreams. Now, in its first year, the book has made its way into boardrooms, book clubs, personal libraries, including, like I said, the South Carolina Women in Tech Book Club. It's so important. And even a study in Gallup in 2022 talks about empathy. It says 76% of employees feel more engaged when their leaders exhibit empathy, making it a key driver for team success. 76% of employees. That's over half, people. So if we want our workspaces to feel good, if we want our nervous systems to relax, I'm telling you, empathy is the tool, and it starts with you. I want to share some stories that I have heard from listeners about the book, because I think it's important for you to understand when you start a conversation about empathy, how the ripple effects matter. And so some of the stories from listeners and from people who have read the book, I should say readers, and maybe they listen because it is on Audible, who knows, but they have impacted not only me, they've impacted the people and the communities and the families and the people that these people serve. So one of the activities in the book is called the iDiehl Day. And it is a pun on my last name. Y'all know I like a pun, okay? And this is a structuring, intention setting / sort of living intentionally framework that I have seen taught in many conferences. And it helps the people who do the activity prioritize what matters. Because empathy starts with you. You have to have empathy for yourself before you can have empathy for others. So I have to tell you, one leader who taught this to their team has experienced a 20% increase in productivity after implementing this system. They measured productivity before, and then they said, we're going to take this iDiehl day, put it into people's lives so they can structure their iDiehl day. And then we're going to measure success quarter over quarter. And they received a 20% success rate in productivity after implementing the system. Like I mentioned, South Carolina Women in Tech offered this book to every single woman in tech across the state of South Carolina. And these women got together discussing the books and applied its lessons to their teams. I have to tell you, I got to sit in on the South Carolina Book Club for Women in Tech in Charleston, my hometown. And just hearing what people grabbed from the book, right? You're all coming in, I've heard this recently, with your own backpacks, your own childhood stories, your own stories from where you grew up, of how you grew up, of what you experienced in your lifetime. And so different stories in the book are going to resonate with you. But this gathering, particularly of women who were able to lean on each other to share shared experiences and to talk about some of the lessons that they're going to take into their day-to-day lives, was so moving and so powerful. As I mentioned before, this book also made its way into thought leaders' hands. Gabby Bernstein is a spiritual mentor of mine. If you don't know who she is an author of 10 New York Times bestsellers. 10. She is an amazing spiritual mentor. She's also a personal growth and development leader. I have been following Gabby for years. I really do credit her for a lot of my own spiritual growth. And I talked about this in a previous episode this year of the Improve It podcast, where I talk about my experience meeting Gabby, giving her the book, and just how I really feel like the principles in the book, which are all about feeling seen, heard, and valued, were experienced by my encounter with Gabby. And just to summarize this story very, very quickly for you, I went to a talk that Gabby had here in my hometown of Charleston. It was a very intimate event. She was talking about her new book called Self-Help, which I'm about to read. I'm so excited. Anyway, she is giving frameworks from the book to the audience, and then there came time for a Q&A, and an audience member talked about grief and how do we help ourselves through grief. And Gabby had a very similar experience with her fertility journey as I did. My son is a miracle baby. There was all these obstacles, including a genetic disorder, for him to become our son. And Gabby experienced a very similar fertility journey with her first child, who is about a year older than my son, Jackson. And then I did lose a embryo, for my very last embryo, this past October, which was very heartbreaking. It was the final step our family could take to be a family of 4, and it did not work out. And so we are a family of 3. But I asked Gabby a question in the audience that day about how do you still lean on your spiritual practice through grief? Because part of my grieving was that I was angry at my spiritual practice. And in that moment, Gabby saw me. And that's the title of the book, I See You. She not only applied the principle of empathy by just being with me, giving me space, but she held space for me in such a beautiful and meaningful way, so that not only did I feel seen by somebody who went through a journey as mine, I felt touched that she really saw me and I wasn't alone. And after the talk, I gave her a copy of the book, which she had already had because I used her masterclass to write the book, but she didn't know that I was the author. And it was in that experience that I really felt like she practiced what she preached. She was as wonderful in person as she is online. I only know her from a virtual standpoint. And receiving that confirmation from her that I was seen and giving her a book that I wrote called I See You just came full circle for me, because she is the empathetic leader that I want to be to the people around me. So that story couldn't be better. That is one of my highlights of writing this book. I also I heard from many readers who connected with the vulnerable stories of growth and struggle that I share in the book, especially those early career moments. There's a lot of personal anecdotes in the book that give a lot of empathy to anyone who is struggling in their career, who is struggling to find purpose, who doesn't feel seen or heard by the leader that they're being led by. So just hearing a lot of those relatable stories and that people saw themselves in those stories was really meaningful, and I know made them feel good. We've heard from audience members and keynotes who have listened not only to the book part, but also the empathetic leader keynote that was created in conjunction with the book. We've heard from them after they've read it that they have created more self-love and emotional resilience using empathy as the forefront of their tool. I also received a letter, and I want to read it to you because this personal letter just has meant so much to me. I keep it on my desk as a reminder to do the work that I'm doing. This letter is from a reader who was gifted the book, and it says, "I was gifted your book, and it has truly shifted my life. I'm currently an MBA student feeling lost and confused on what my future looks like. But your book has completely given me a new perspective on not only who I am, but the life I want to live. I recommend your book to pretty much everyone I know so far. I hope you and your family are doing well and know how special this book is to me." That letter means so much to me because through stories of empathy, this woman saw herself, and that ripple effect will have everlasting change. I can't tell you how vulnerable it is to write a book. And this book has not only changed lives, but it really did change me. I learned to trust my voice because for a long time, there were voices in my head that said, you should not write a book. You should not have a microphone. You should not get up on stage in front of people. What are you going to talk about? And I'm a human being just like you. But I know my purpose. And it is to see you, my beautiful Improve It peep, my beautiful human who is here to light up the world with your thoughts, with your love, with your kindness and your compassion. And I now know my purpose is to continue to use my voice, to find my voice, to show you, not just tell you, but to show you how to use yours. Now, again, as I mentioned, it's a super vulnerable thing. And I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm going to write another one. But I had to crack wide open. There's no like title yet, peeps. So just hold tight on that. But I will write another one because not only was it super healing for me to crack wide open, to have to dive down deep into the lessons that I'm here to learn, to actually learn them, take the lessons, apply them, and then teach them. It was such a healing journey for me on many, many levels. It's like opening up your diary and writing somebody a letter, a love letter. And I hope you feel that because I see the ripple effect. I recognize that this book is no longer just mine. It's no longer a Word document that I spent hours and hours and months agonizing over. It belongs to you, and it belongs to the leaders out there who are change agents, to the spiritual leaders, to the people who are here to wake up this earth with kindness, compassion, and empathy. This book is yours. So I want you to know that I see you and that empathy starts with you. All right. Hold on one sec. My beautiful Workday Playdate peeps. Let's pause for a moment. I know we don't have commercials around here, but I wanted to make sure that you grabbed your copy of I See You, A Leader's Guide to Energizing Your Team Through Radical Empathy. If you haven't received the copy of the book that is yours, now's the perfect time. It's a great book to read with your team as a book club, and it's available wherever books are sold. Now, something that you might not know is that inside of the book, there is a special link to a resource guidebook. The resource guidebook is completely free. It's about a 64-page Word doc. Actually, it's a PDF, and it's a fillable PDF for you to do the activities in the book in conjunction with the book in real time. So it's a guided workbook, completely free. It's packed with all the activities, and it's perfect for you to have to take back to your team. It's a practical way to implement empathy into your everyday leadership. Now, one more thing just to caveat. If you're looking for a deeper dive, you've got a all hands or some type of offsite or a conference that you need a keynote speaker for, my Empathetic Leader Keynote pairs wonderfully with the book. It's a dynamic session that leaves teams energized and equipped to lead with radical empathy. Go to our website, www.learntoimproveit.com or www.itserinddeal.com to learn more. Let's get back to the episode. So, I want to talk about a story that really struck home for me as we were continuing to get this book out and try to reach as many people as possible. I was on a podcast tour. So if you don't know this, I was on about, literally no joke, 45 podcasts in 2024, not my own, other people's podcasts. And a leader in Tokyo heard me on one of the shows, reached out to me about after hearing about the book on a podcast, and told me about how her team was navigating burnout. So she implemented the iDiehl day and gave them a way to reclaim their time so it felt super intentional. Hearing that thousands of miles away, this simple framework was reshaping a team's connection and well-being. That again is when I knew this book was no longer mine. It belonged to you. And since you've listened thus far to this episode, I want to make sure you have a tangible takeaway to take with you today. It is a play date, my friends, in the workday, and I'm going to make sure you have something to take home in your goodie bag. So here it is. This is an activity called empathy that you will read in I See You. It's super easy. So the next time you have a conflict with one of your team members, or the next time you are feeling a certain way about somebody on your team, I want you to take a step back. And you're going to have a two-way conversation with them and say, hey, Susan, I recognize that you've seemed overwhelmed lately. Let's just say that Susan is drowning and things aren't coming in on time. Hypothetical situation. Susan's going to respond to you and tell you why she has felt overwhelmed and what she has going on. So Susan might say something like this. Oh, Erin, you know what? I've got a lot going on in my personal life. I'm navigating a situation at home and I've just been really stressed. I know that that's affecting my work and I'm really sorry. I'm actually having some childcare issues and I'm having trouble getting my son to school on time. I wanted you to know that. I wanted to have this conversation. As the person listening to Susan, my job is to take in all of Susan's information and then take a pause. And in that pause, I'm going to repeat back in my head Susan's scenario as if I was Susan. So I'm going to say, okay, Susan, thank you. And in my mind, here's my little thought bubble forming upon my head. Susan's got a lot going on at home. She's going through a personal situation and she is late and having trouble getting to work because she's having a childcare issue. Okay, let me say this back as if I am Susan. Oh, I'm having a personal struggle at home. Oh man, yeah, I can't get my son to school on time and it's really affecting the way I show up in the mornings at work and how I affect my work the rest of the day. I wish there was something my boss could do. Ding, ding, ding. Now that I've said it as Susan in the first person, I'm able to sort of feel what Susan feels like. So as I'm saying it as if I'm Susan, I felt kind of like a sink in my stomach that there was a situation going on at home. I felt the sort of nervous system butterfly flutter in my heart of, man, it sucks that I can't get my son to school on time because I'm having this issue. You know what? Let me talk to Susan and see if there's ways we can help. So I might come back to Susan and say, hey, Susan, okay, I totally understand that. I'm so sorry to hear about what's going on at home. Is there a way we could adjust your hours? So maybe you start a little bit later and have some time for yourself before you come in and end later. Is there a way we can work on that? And start the conversation that way. So essentially, person A tells their problem, person B listens, and then puts the scenario in first person before responding. You can do this as a hypothetical activity too. You could do it like you're actually doing the activity where some person says their problem and you repeat it out loud as first person. So there's multiple ways to do it, but the gist is to really put yourself in the shoes of the individual before responding. Empathy is so powerful. I want you to know this, and here's your takeaway from today, friends. Empathy doesn't just stop with a book or a workshop or a keynote. It grows in conversations, in the courage to try something new, and in the stories that we share. So I want to just thank anyone and everyone who's read the book, who has shared a story with me. I want to thank anyone and everyone who has applied the principles of empathy to their day-to-day. I want to thank anyone and everyone who is listening to this episode and feels moved to be more kind and compassionate to the people in their workspace, to the people in their families, to the people in their communities. If you've read I See You, or you even just heard about it here today, I want to know. So you can either respond to me in the comment section of the iTunes reviews. You can send me an email at info@learntoimproveit.com. But I want to know, how has empathy shaped your story? How has empathy shaped your story? Send me a note, share it with your teams, and let's keep the ripple effect going. I hope today's Playdate brought you joy. I hope today's Playdate was informative. I hope that I am one of those friends that we call a treadmill friend. Those are the people after you have a Playdate with that you feel energized and you've got those endorphins going. And I'm not your couch playmate friend. I didn't make you want to sink back in the couch. I hope you're off that treadmill, ready to rock, ready to go. And this Playdate fueled your soul. So here's the message I'm going to leave you with every single time, my peeps. I want you to keep playing. I want you to keep leading. And I want you to remember that every workday is a Playdate waiting to happen, because the world needs that very special it that only you can bring. I'll see you next time.